tell you that you are overrating William Ruto. William Ruto is the smallest form of a dictator I've ever seen. In the recent African history, I can name you 8 dictators that thought they were stronger than the people. You go to our neighbor, Uganda, there was Dr. Idi Amin Dada. You went to DRC, Kamuzu Banda with Mobutu Sese Seko, in Liberia, Do in Bokassa, Central African Republic, in Sedbare in Somalia. There was, dictators come because they think that they can sit on their people. And the way dictators triumph is that they scare you. They make you think, now this is the worst dictator you've ever seen. I remember Bashir, just the other day in Sudan, was a general that could not be touched. And in Syria, the dictator fell. Kenyans, you made a point when you said no to the finance bill. You rattled William Ruto. You stopped Baba at the AU elections. They are now coming back together as a syndicate against the people. Why are you complaining? You've won. The Kenyan people have won. These guys are fighting as though the elections are tomorrow. But the issue of threatening Kenyans about the law, I don't agree with you, Fabish, even at all. Because in the 90s, we had a problem of the one-party state, where KANU was the de facto party. And people are told they cannot have any elections unless KANU ni baba na mama. Kenyans overcame the KANU regime, and we got a multi-party state. We went to no reform, no election, and we were able to create, in the second liberation, the unbogable revolution led by Mwai Kibaki, in the sense that Kenyans overcame difficulties. And since then, we got the 2010 constitution. And since the Gen Z revolution of the 25th of June, Ruto has never regained his balance, as Degwa Njiru, my brother, will confirm after I land. I do not know where this fear is coming. The Kenyans are ill-prepared this time than we have ever been in history. You seem to be adoring dictators and adoring Raila Odinga, who is diminished. Raila Odinga stood the last elections as he started at NDP. Then he joined Moi in KANU and became KANU Secretary General. From there, he went to Pentagon, then CORD, then NASA, then Azimio. Raila has never stood as Raila. He has lost Kalonzo. He has lost Matiang'i. He has lost the Luya. Raila Odinga's vote is no longer 8 million votes. It's 1.4 million. And in the last election, 800,000 Luos did not vote. Why are you people scaring people that because Baba is being paid money, that he will win? Did he win the AUC? Baba has stood in 5 elections in Kenya and lost. Now Ruto is standing on the same numbers that Raila has stood for 5 elections. Why do you think now Ruto can win without even the Gen Z? So it's a wrong premise that first of all they are strong because they are together. In my view, they are weak because they are together. So stop selling fear and sell courage. And I want to be adamant about this issue. If the opposition remains united and all hands are on deck, and my brother Degwa Njiru and all the other able guys who come here say the same thing, these guys will be finished in the morning at 9. But this idea that they have come together and therefore it matters, it does not matter. Raila Odinga and Ruto cheated us about the AUC election. We told Kenyans they will lose, and they lost. Raila Odinga, I was his director of protocol for 3 elections. He has lost every election. What has Raila Odinga won that today is scaring you that he will now win with Ruto? So please, let me cede, let me land. But do not start this debate on the basis because they are together, we are losing. What should be the debate is why are we not together to win? There can be no justification that in order to save their dwindling 2027 political fortunes, William Ruto and Raila Odinga concord and sell to the Kenyan people that Baba is the Messiah of Africa. And therefore, if he goes to Africa, everything will be as fine since the invention of chewing gum. In other words, these people deceived and cheated the Kenyan people to own and believe that Odinga's agenda in Africa was for Africa. Odinga's agenda for Africa was to salvage the UDA regime of William Ruto, to legitimize it by taking a position that would make his supporters galvanized towards the collapsing regime of William Ruto. Thank God it is the presidents of Africa and not the manipulation of Odinga that came to the scales, what I would like to call as the Shylock scales, as Shakespeare said. So look, this was a deceptive campaign by two men of deception. They have, the king is naked. They went to the theater of the world, ill-prepared, poor diplomatic planning, poor diplomatic strategy. You cannot have a country like Kenya. Since 1963, when the OAU began, Kenya has pursued a system of non-alignment. And here, in the first few months of Ruto's government, he was sitting at the Oval Office, purporting and displaying America's blue-eyed boy status, coming to this country and celebrating that he's now a non-NATO ally of the U.S. And the U.S. is a fundamental supporter of Israel. And of course, the OIC and all the Arab states were completely against the candidature of Kenya and Odinga. And of course, after that, you have a situation where the policy of Kenya is to go to Haiti and support Haitians when we have problems in Southern Sudan, problems even in our neighbor here at DRC. The Kenyan foreign policy is a foreign policy that is Ruto-driven without the proper consideration of the interests, the geopolitical interests, not just of Kenya, but of the region and the world, particularly on the issue of human rights violations. So when you have a police force in Kenya that can murder people and walk in Subarus and number plate-less cars and masks, and then you say that you are sending policemen to Haiti to save gangs there, it is every leader in Africa can see that what Kenya is doing is cashing in on the bloodshed in Haiti, and yet using those funds to kill its own citizens. Now, let me for now conclude by saying this, that I have been praying that Raila Odinga be cut to size. I've been praying that Raila Odinga and Ruto become exposed before this IBC is set up, because I know that's their next plan, to be able to pack the IBC, deny Kenyans ID cards in order to continue to manipulate themselves into power. I will say at the beginning of my comments that all these shenanigans that have been the AU elections have been a precursor for 2027. They have fallen on their sword. This was not about Africa. It was not about Odinga. It was about Ruto's re-election. I condemn their attempt to hoodwink Kenyans. I call it for what it is, a political fraud. And the African presidents have made me proud, because they told them to their face that, no, we are not boarding.
Asante sana kwa wakati wako. Huyo amekuwa ni Tony Gachoka akisema tu kwamba Wakenya saizi wanafaa waungane ili wajue jinsi ya kumtoa Rais William Samoei Ruto itakapotimia mwaka wa 2027, akisema Ruto ni dikteta, na ameweza kuzungumzia Raila Odinga pamoja na Rigathi Gachagua wote pamoja. So sijui na maoni gani kuhusiana na alichosema Tony Gachoka. Kama uko na maoni niachie hapo kwenye comment section. Kama huja subscribe, na kuomba uweze kusubscribe, finya notification bell, ndio wakati wote tunapata habari kama hizi unakuwa wa kwanza kuipata. Hadi wakati mwingine, na kutakia usiku mwema.